From Los Angeles and Nashville, get ready to go behind the scenes with Entertainment Dudes. What happens when you pair a director, a voice actor in a world, and some of the most interesting people in entertainment? You're about to find out. Hey, Jason?
Yes, Cam.
I think we're recording.
Are we live already?
I think it's time. Yeah.
Okay. We could just... Yes, we are. I see the thing.
Live.
It says
Woo!
live.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
And girls and everybody out there. Welcome to the Entertainment Dudes. I'm Cam Cornelius, voiceover dude based in Nashville, or as we like to say, Yollywood.
I'm Jason Crossman, director based in Los Angeles. We're excited to have you on the show today. Cam, I was working recently a couple of days ago on a feature film here, and I've been on the back sets of several that we've been shooting, and something new has emerged, a new trend in production and filmmaking. And this is, I think, really going to inspire a lot of people in their future careers. It is this right here.
Aluminum.
Yes, so they've got rid of all of the plastic bottles, and they're replacing them on Disney sets and also on this other film that I was just working on with aluminum. So it was like 105 degrees in the desert, and I drank about 30 of these, and I brought the empty containers home. So I'm reducing, reusing, and recycling. Yes, very excited. I know everyone's cheering.
One thing I want to share, though, remember we were talking in the cosplay episode, we were talking about the 3D printer.
Yes. Did you get your 3D printer?
I got a 3D printer. So now I can make unlimited finger vases.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
If you need a finger vase,
call. And do you have a number? We'll just put up the information later.
Fingervases by Cam.com.
Okay, finger vases. This is sponsored by...
Not sure what else I can do with it, but, look at that finger vase. Look at the quality.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
This show is sponsored by fingervase.com. Okay.
All right.
Another useless facts.
That's right.
However, we do have some an incredible guests for you guys today.
Yes, for those of us that don't speak gibberish, we have an incredible guest for you today.
Yes. Did I just gibberize that? Good. Okay. You just translate.
Okay, I will.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for you today, we have an incredible guest.
For you today, we have an incredible guest.
Paul
Gerrard.
Jared, actually, is the correct pronunciation.
We'll figure this out.
Pronunciation. He's a concept artist, has done a lot of incredible work, and I think without further ado, let's bring him on and let's talk about what he's done. Really excited to have him on the show today.
One more ado. Hold on. There we go. All right. Ado.
Hi, guys.
Welcome. Hey, Paul. How you doing?
All good. Yeah, good to be here.
Yes, really great having you here. Appreciate it. Oh, he's got the plastic water bottle. We're moving to aluminum.
We're so far behind.
Look at you guys. Just catching up to LA. I'll even do the slow rotation for you, Paul, so you can see all the pieces of it.
I'll get there. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Okay, so you've been in concept art. For those people who are just watching the show who don't know what a concept artist is or does, what is a concept artist?
Well, there are different kind of levels of concept art, but what I do is I'm the guy at the very start, even before the film's greenlit. So if a director wants to pitch it to the studio, he'll come to me. He'll say it's an alien invasion movie. In the script, they might just say, creepy alien with 2 legs. Then it's my job to visualize that, and then they can sell that to the studio. And then once it gets green lit, then it's a case of working on it a bit more and developing it more for the film. So, and it could be anything. It could be monsters, aliens, costume designs, whole spectrum, really.
Incredible. What do you prefer, more information in a script or just like that 2 legs, alien with 2 legs? Like,
I think what I tend to do is I will give the director exactly what it says in the script, and I'll give him variations. I'll give him the wild card, so I kind of cover all bases. And that's kind of good advice for any concept artist. Really, is just to do variations and try different things.
How did you get involved in this, and who were some of your mentors or people you looked up to in this industry?
I got into it by complete accident. I had no interest in working in films, because when I grew up, that kind of that job was so out of my realm and my way of thinking They didn't even compute. So time I was working in games and I was doing my own artwork for like galleries, like in some digital artwork in New York and Germany, and it's one piece of that artwork made it into a little book. And the director Jonathan Lieberman spotted that tiny little piece, and he got in touch, and we started chatting about doing art for films and such. And I went from there. I did Battle Los Angeles was my first film. So
yeah, I don't know. That was what 2011, right?
Yeah, before that I had no experience in concept art whatsoever.
Incredible. I also teach sometimes at the New York Film Academy, and a lot of the times the students will say, "How do you make it? What do you do? Tell me the steps." There are no steps, literally, except for just finding what you're passionate about, finding your talent, and get ready to just do whatever it takes to try to.
That's it.
And I think you're waiting for that moment.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's a case of. See, I get portfolios all the time because I've moved into production design and I've moved into IP creation, and I get loads of portfolios. And the biggest problem I see is people have no idea how to sell themselves. You've got to create a niche. You've got to think, okay, if a director's going to look for robots with human heads, then I'm going to be the one that creates the best robot with a human head on the planet. So he comes to me, and then you do that in your little niche, in your little bubble, and you get your job that way. And then you can expand from there. But you need to have that niche in order to get the jobs in the first place.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's almost counterintuitive to the small production idea because, for example, in Nashville, it's a smaller town. And so production, in order to make it, you have to edit, shoot, write, direct, and so that segue, I realized when I was out in LA, they're like, what do you do? And I was like, I can edit, I'll DP, and they're like, wait, no, I mean, what? No, yeah, but what do you do? Like, what do you, and I was like,
that's it.
Any of them, which one do you need? It was literally like, so I think that idea is fantastic, just about finding a niche. It's spectacular. And just be prepared how do you break out of that niche role? Because especially if you do want to expand eventually.
That's the key, isn't it? You've got to, I think, from personal experience, you've got to have that niche to get the foot in the door, to have, say, maybe 4 or 5 titles to your belt, and then you can expand from there. So you have to have something that will draw people in and to get attention. Otherwise, it's just a drop in the ocean. If you have a portfolio with 20 images that are all random, your director will look through and go next, and you won't get chosen. You've got to think about the system. And the system right now is, in order to get known, you have to pigeonhole yourself.
Yeah,
which is not great. It's not the best solution, but that is the system we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of the things I learned is in any system, whether it's a film or a job, a lot of times, especially if you got big ideas, if you're a creative, conceptual person and you like solving problems, your first thought is, I'm going to bust in here and solve these problems. And if there's already a system in place, you're literally going to just butt your head against the wall and you're going to end up getting fired. So it's like you gotta understand the game and play the game first, win at it, and then from inside you can begin to really make those.
I think a lot of artists don't really get that it's a concept art job is a highly skilled profession, and you got to come at it from a professional standpoint. It's not just a case of I'm good at artwork. You could be the best artist on the planet, but if you don't have a business mind and you don't understand how the business works, you're not going to get noticed.
Yeah, I think that's the same in voiceover or directing. I mean, we're all dealing with that right now. Years ago it may not have been so, but now it's like business is just as important as the art.
Yeah, it's a bit. It gets me sometimes because I also think if I was born 10 years earlier, and if I had made it in mid 80s or mid 90s, the films I would have worked on then would have been sent my career skyrocketing. If you'd have been an alien designer in the early 90s, you'd have been made.
Oh yeah.
But now it's like you'll get on Facebook for 20 minutes.
Although
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
if in the 80s and 90s this had been the Skeletor I'd seen, I
it's like,
would have been scarred for life.
Yeah,
that's good though, isn't it?
I think I would still be wearing diapers today if I'd have seen this guy for that. Yes, dang. So okay, let's talk the creative mind for this. As a kid, you like the D&D, you like the
I like the cartoon.
The cartoon.
I got into D&D later when I started working on the film.
Really? Okay.
For the Master Universe, it was just the cartoons. I love, the imagination behind them. I still do.
Yeah, they're amazing.
It's funny. I have a pretty surreal routine. So I'll get up at 6 a.m. I'll breakfast and whatnot, and then I'll take a bit of a pre-workout. And when I'll wait for that to kick in, I'll watch Master Universe or Thundercats every morning. And then I'll work out, shower, and then it's artwork till about 12, 1 break. And it's like a regimental system. So I always
it's not Eye of the Tiger for you. He's like Masters of the I am
the power.
He-Man by the power of Grayskull. Then you're like yes, I feel the power. Yeah. That's great. What's your motivation? So okay, when you're doing creative concepts, in that headspace, how do you get into a headspace where you can allow those ideas to flow? You know how for me there's I have ADD a little bit, and when I'm hyper focused, it's like the ideas are phenomenal. But just as an independent contractor working for yourself, you are the sole source of your motivation. How do you, especially under intense deadlines, how do you stay clear that creative space so that you can have those ideas? Like, what do you do for that?
Yeah, I use certain techniques that involve the subconscious more than anything. So I bombard myself with imagery and research for just a day. I don't even put a pencil to paper, and I let it kind of seep in. So, and the next morning, that's when I do my sketches. And I just see what comes out. So I'm using kind of subconscious patterns. So I'm trying not to. How can I put it? So let's say you're doing an antagonist, and you want it to be completely unique. Then you can't base it on something. You can't say, well, I'm going to base it on insects, or I'm going to base it on, clamshells or whatever. If you want it to be completely unique, the best thing is to use the subconscious imagery, a subconscious way of thinking, so that when you unleash, it's completely free of tied into any kind of one thing.
Well, where do you think ideas come from?
I think it's an amalgamation of your personality. I think you can do like an hour's work, as in pen to paper, but the rest of the day, if you're just thinking about things constantly and you're churning it over and over, your mind's already there. It's already doing it for you.
Right.
So you're kind of soaking everything in, and it helps if you're a bit screwed in the head when it comes to designs.
I was going to add to you, it's like these are things from nightmares. Do you ever pull things from dreams, or are they things all from subconscious? Like, have you ever woken up and just said, "Oh my gosh, that's the character," and you start drawing, or is it always
not so much dreams? Just like I'll be sat here, I'll be talking to you, and something will just enter my head, and I'll know that's the one I've got to do.
Yeah, that kind of looks like Jason right there in the middle of the screen.
Come on, he looks way better than I do. That's if I've been out in the sun too long and I didn't apply sunscreen. That's me. And actually, that guy you got on right now, the Hellboy. I'm like, yeah, you got to work on Hellboy concepts. That's pretty spectacular. I mean, it's a great work. There's other links if you want to see some of Paul's work. You can check him out on his LinkedIn. We'll have that on here, as well as IMDb, long list of credits. And he's done other interviews where you can find out about a lot of the work that he's done. Today, we're going to show you some of the work, but really we just want to understand the mind behind it, and to help anybody who's listening to this creative ideas and these concepts to motivate you and inspire you. Like Paul was saying before, he hadn't done anything before. It's number one, getting your work out there. A lot of times I'll tell my students and I think it was Dave that I mentioned, Dave Ramsey, I think originally talked about this, but the idea of you incorporated. I tell my students, you're not just a filmmaker. You're not just a writer. You are owning your own business, and your business is you. You have to think in terms of yourself as a business. And would you hire you
or
to
fire
run any business or fire you? If you're going to fire yourself, that means you're not doing something right. You need to figure out what it is. So I think, Paul, you've done an amazing job. Like on your LinkedIn, you're always posting new stuff, new ideas. You're teasing really, really well. You're looking forward to knowing what's coming up and what you're creating. So speaking of what's coming up, and this is a great segue into what you've been posting lately. You've made some of the shift from concept artist and you started directing, and you're also doing some graphic novels. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing now and where that came from.
Yeah, the key for me is when I've been working on the Hollywood stuff, I kind of felt a little bit underused, I think, because I think the bigger you get and the more involved you get in the bigger productions, kind of 100 million plus stuff, you just become a small cog. Now, on Battle Los Angeles, it was literally just me and Ty Ruben Ellison doing designs. So what you see in the film, you can see on the website, the difference between the concept art and the end result is almost identical.
Yeah.
Then you get into something like Ninja Turtles, where you create something and then about 20 other people will take their stab on it as well. And it goes through the whole machine. And I kind of felt like I was getting disconnected from that. So I wanted to go to create my own IPs and have more involvement.
Right.
So it comes down to, if you want something doing, do it yourself.
You know, it's really fascinating. I don't know if you experience this too. It's kind of painful, like when you're creating something and then the original intent behind it, why you created the thing, when it veers away from what you did, it's almost like an ache for me. It hurts.
Yeah. That's why I went into directing, because I'd be able to control what I see. Right. Although then when I did that, I came up against like budget and time, and then you're like, well,
always
actually you can't do what you want because you've only got like 20 minutes.
Do you find though that helps you sometimes refine the ideas? It kind of forces you to pull in the best stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Because you're designing, you start to think, well, I'm not just designing for a design as such. I'm designing for what it looked like with light and shadow and everything else, and budget. So I'm going to design a creature that will look fantastic in a certain lighting.
Right.
Not with, if you do it for a Hollywood machine, you've got all the money behind you for CG and prosthetics, visual effects. If you do it for independent horror, you've got the camera and you've got maybe some fog. You're still going to make it look good. So you design for that. Then that probably leads me to graphic novels. Graphic novels, there's no restraints at all. What you think, you can just like unleash, which I love.
Yeah. And when you're creating the characters, I know you're drawing them, but there's so much personality into what you're creating. As you're creating, when does characterization start to happen? Like when do you all of a sudden, they come alive as you make them, and it's almost like they tell you who they are, right? Or is it the other way around?
It comes from the stories in the characters. So when you're doing a character, you're not just doing an image of the character, you're telling the story within the design. So, for example, the Hell Priest from the Hellraiser Origins, this entire mythos, entire story could be told through one image. So, the pattern on the head is a morella that goes back to the Roman days. The positioning of certain scars are positioning to spiritual chakras and frequencies. Everything like that. So you break down. So I always think the subconscious mind could read that, and it could read certain imageries that your conscious mind can't see. So you're telling the story that way, and you tap it into people's kind of like I said, the subconscious brain, if you like.
The concept
that way.
Concept art has kind of been even brought to the forefront a little bit in things such as The Mandalorian, where they kind of end with the concept art. And then even in the MCU more recently, I see people going back and looking at the concept art, and there's little clues and Easter eggs in the concept art that may not have made it into the final production or tie into other parts of the film.
The funny thing about the Mandalorian art, though, is that there's a big difference between like daily that you'll see in magazines and like on the TV show. There's high-end illustrative concept art, and then there's the daily stuff, which is really rough.
Right.
It's trying to make people realize there's a difference. Because people might see my stuff and think, oh, I'll never reach that level of detail on a daily basis, and then they give up. But that's not what the director will see on a daily basis. That's what you'll see maybe 3 weeks down the line.
Yeah. I think that's the same time. Anytime you're, even if you're writing, or sometimes the first edit, whenever you work on the first cut, or you've got the first item of the script, you can get really discouraged by that. But I think that the fun part about creating an ideation is the fact that it can develop and it can evolve and it can change and it can tweak. I've been really fascinated. I've got a number of concept art books from Blade Runner, the first Blade Runner, and Blade Runner 2049, which I think are mind blowing. Also, we've got a number of the Star Wars books and different things. And I think one thing that's really fascinating, and it goes back to what you were talking about, character, what they're wearing, even like down to the little buttons that are put on them, little pieces. Why does he wear this bracelet? What does it mean to him?
All the time.
Yeah, and then the fact that they even thought about that, they're like, it was this color because, like, when he was a kid, his father had this. Like, it's stuff that you never see on screen, but there's an authenticity to the characters that you feel it.
Yeah, it's like Dr. Moore from Shannara. He has jewelry down the center of his head. Yeah, on the surface, it looks, oh, that's cool, but the line represents good and bad because he used to be good, and then he went to the dark side and became bad. So the line represents that duality,
that change.
Yeah,
it's just incredible. That's just, it leads such an authenticity to the character. I like when you see a character and there is a uniformity between the way that they look to the way that they move to the way that they act, and that character, when they bring in all those pieces together, it's just such a strong, fantastic character. And you might not even be able to say, oh, it's this. It's just, I don't know. It just feels right.
It becomes iconic, doesn't it? Even if it's something simple, if you can remember it after you watch the film, then it's worked. You know? Yeah,
Pac-Man. I mean, I can't forget. That's about as basic as it gets.
Remember him. Look at Geiger's Alien. It's just a phallus with legs and arms.
That's it.
And it's the most simple shape you can. Anybody can draw Geiger's Alien.
Yeah,
but strip away the detail, and it's such a simple shape, but it sticks in your head.
Yeah, and it stays. Yeah, I think, and then sometimes I think, sometimes it feels like you try too hard, which is possible to do. I don't know. You've seen that, and it's like, I think they just tried too hard to make it something spectacular. It's just.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love detail, but the fundamental has to be it has to be simple and memorable.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked how many iterations, like even just of the Star Wars, just of the X-Wing. It had like 40 or 50 iterations. You ever see those pictures? Some of the early X-Wing look like a toaster with like different. I was like, oh my gosh.
But you're thinking, surely someone just went like, oh, line and an X.
X. Oh, there it is. There's the X-Wing. It's done. And I think he did that on a napkin at lunch. And isn't that how it works, right? You're like, hey, Paul, I need a quick ship here before I leave.
Yeah.
So have you now in Hollywood, you've got just one thing, I think I want to go back to the terms of deadlines. As a creative, what kind of discipline do you do for yourself? How do you hit those deadlines? You're not even in Hollywood. You're on the other side of the world right now. What do you do personally to make sure that you're staying on track with creative deadlines? Like how?
Well, I work ridiculously fast. I don't limit myself at all, really. But I just make sure that first pass is done in one day only, and I break it up. So if I'm doing a character, it's just a front view, first pass, first day, and that's it. And then from then on, it's variation.
Now, how detailed is it? Do you have any examples around just of something you could show that was like a first day? Is it? I mean, it doesn't look like what we were looking at in the end of the first day, right?
It does.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? That's incredible.
Yeah. But the thing is, it goes back to Battle Los Angeles when I had no experience whatsoever. And the only job before that, I used to make photorealistic texture pages for games. So essentially I was a matte artist that worked ridiculously fast. So that's what I did for movies, thinking that's the way I work. And I've kept on with that technique. So,
well, that doesn't hurt you, though. I don't know any director that's like, Paul, I want you to go back and take more time on this.
The thing is, it's what do you do, though? Do you kind of some people play the game, don't they? They think, well, I've done this in a day, I'll stretch it out to like 3 days. But I think it's best thing just to get it as quickly as you can and get feedback, because you might end up doing 20 variations or 2, you know.
Yeah.
Like the Moore took about 40 variations, whereas Stanton Gnome was 1. So you never know.
And one and done. Yeah. It's crazy too. Have you ever had it where you feel like the first one was like, this is the one, and then they're like, 20 later, you're like, oh my gosh.
I can tell you, Battle Los Angeles, the first few I did was bipedal creature with a round head.
Yeah.
Right? And then we spent 6 months trying every variation you could possibly think of. And then at the end of 6 months, Jonathan Liebman said, well, we're a bit stuck what to do, Paul. What do you think? What's your gut feeling? And I went back to the first one. I said, this one. Yeah, and that was the one they used.
And that was the one. It was the right one. It was the right one. I like it. How do you make something that's like, it's interesting because I'm not going to say grotesque. There's like a fine line, I think, between something that's grotesque to the point that it turns you off. There's like a great balance. How do you find that?
I love grotesque, but I like the beauty of it. I don't like the gore and the blood, and it doesn't appeal. So it's like beautifully dark, you know.
Yeah.
It's like Hellraiser to me was imaginative. It was like a really cool character. It wasn't horror. I didn't see it as horror. I saw it was like an imaginative piece of artwork.
Right.
So yeah, even though I get penned as the horror guy, which annoys me, but just that's the way it comes across, I guess.
I think to me, from just seeing the stuff that you've done, having watched the movies and seen the pieces that you've created that came out of it, to me, there's a soul element to what you create. Like it's not just a superficial character. It feels like there's an element of spirituality and soul to the characters that you create. And I feel that it's like it's almost invite you to, like, draws you in to see deeper, like past just the surface. Am I wrong on that?
No, thank you for that. Yeah, that's right. I see them as like a dreamy sort of element. That makes you want to unlock it, I suppose.
Yeah, it's almost like that thing that you see, like the car crash, the train thing, the wreck, the thing that's not it's not normal. It's not something you see every day. So when you see it, if it's too grotesque, you look away and you don't go into it. But if it's just right, it's just enough that you're like, ugh, what is that? And then you look closer, you're like, wow, that's actually fascinating.
That's probably why I want to do more of my own thing, because if you create something like that for a big film, it will get diluted. It always does.
Every time.
In Wrath of the Titans, I was hired to do the darker versions of everything. So that's what I did, just so that they had that kind of resource. Yeah. And they would take that and they say, well, I want it a little bit like this, and a little bit like this, and you end up with something different. But how cool would it be to have a really dark version, though? Like,
amazing, terrifying. Well, you know what movie stands out to me in my mind is Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
That film, like, it felt like that Del Toro. It's just it really was one of those characters you can't forget. You never forget.
And again, so simple, isn't it? It's just so simple.
Yeah. So some of these, look at these. The shots are on screen right there. Those kind of concepts, they're terrifying, but they're also beautiful. And well, I look forward. I really, really am excited to see what you're coming up with. And I hope maybe in in next year we could revisit again and get back together again and take a look at all that stuff you have coming out. We enjoy having you so much, and sharing some of your insights and some of the thoughts behind what you do. And hopefully anyone out there that is listening to us that is interested in getting into this piece, the first place is to start. I think there needs to be an organization to what you want to do. A lot of it is about setting a goal and choosing it. For Paul, what do you think? This fell in your lap, but you ran with it.
Yeah, I did. And then I realized if I want to make this a career, I have to plan. And the things I do now, I plan probably a year, 2 years in advance.
Wow.
So I'm doing the graphic novels now, but there is an end game that I can't go into too much. But that end game is like a year and a half down the line.
Okay.
So you've got to plan like you're a director, you plan for 6-7 months before.
Oh yeah, easy.
So,
Yep. Easy.
Going back real quick, you mentioned a director coming to you, and then you going back to the first iteration of your artwork. Are there times where you really love something and then it's never even used, and you feel like, your baby didn't make it to the screen? And how do you deal with that?
It's hard. It's pretty tough. And I'll tell you what else is really difficult is going back to like how do you work as a freelancer compared to how do you work in-house. I've been asked so many times, do you want to work on Spider-Man, Terminator, X-Men? And then I say yes, and then I'm like in Dreamland, I get to work on them. And then they say, well, you're not in London, you're not in LA, so we'll give it to somebody else. So it's constantly a mental game as well. You do have the ups and downs, but you've got to have a thick skin, I guess.
That said,
it takes a long time to get through that.
That said, you've worked on some amazing films. Is there anything here? And I'm looking at your portfolio. Is there anything you want to talk about on any of these that stood out or you really enjoyed working on? Or
I think Shannara was the best for me because they just let me have free reign.
Wow!
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, that's the one I enjoyed the most.
Yeah,
it was quick. It was damn quick though. Like a movie, you might get 4 or 5 weeks.
This character was amazing. Yeah, he was crazy.
Yeah.
And the elements, I like that it was the shifting. Like he had no clear bound. Like there was no clear edge to him that was always there. That shifting. The
interesting about him is that was the wild card. So we did about 30 iterations of different types of face paint. And I thought, well, what if the red of the face paint was just skin where it had been peeled off? So I presented that as a last wild card, and they went with it. So I was quite pleased with that one.
Oh yeah, it turned out great. And it's interesting because some of what you created, I remember I read all the Shannara books, and I thought there was one thing that he did in a lot of the books is his descriptions of the characters. It was very easy to picture what they look like, and I think just watching it, I was like, oh my, it captured so much of how I imagined it. In a much more grandiose sort of way and finer details. Mine was sort of an ethereal idea, but
well, you got to do your research as well, I like going back to like D&D. I knew of the artwork, I didn't know the game. So 3 weeks before I started, I just got obsessed with it, for like just consumed everything,
Yeah. Everything you can get your hands on.
Like a method actor, I guess.
Well, that actually shows in your work, because to me it feels like those characters are acted out. The drawing itself is acted. There's so much heart into it, and so that's what was really, really impressive. Well, I think we're about at our time. So, man, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited and excited to have you on, and look forward to having you on again.
And where can people reach you, and some of the social media that you want?
I think the best place these days is LinkedIn.
Okay.
Just keep an eye on LinkedIn and Instagram for job posts. But definitely the most.
Okay. All right. Sounds good, sir.
Wonderful.
Well, we wish you the best of evenings.
Thank you very much.
Thanks again for your time.
We didn't talk on one thing, of course, is I saw on your website here, Indiana Jones.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
What can you tell us?
I can't say anything.
What can't you tell us?
I can't tell you that it's the most frustrating project ever because they're shooting down the road from where I live, and because of COVID, I can't go.
My God!
I've never been on a Hollywood set that big before.
Oh,
and they're right there. They're like 10 minutes drive, but denied.
You know what you can do is apply for background. Because I was just on set. There's been on several Star Wars and a couple others that I love to do it, because I like to go. I find it is a great way to find gaffers, electricians, Best Boy Electric. I go to scout, so I found even a makeup artist I want to use last time I went, because I watch the attitude, how they treat. They think I'm a peon, so they'll just, however they treat me is like their great attitude. I watch how hard they work. I'm like, I want this dude on my set. He's amazing. Definitely. So I got contacts, and then I get to go on set, and I love watching how other directors work. And when you're background, you're just standing there half the time. Like you're sitting there waiting. So geesh, I watched, I can't say what project I just worked on, but it was so watching like the director, how he's working with everyone. it's just great. And so I'm telling you, get on the background. Like, I'm a background extra.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah.
You'll be there, man.
I gotta get on set. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, especially those ideas. Like, you want to see it take place.
Yeah. I want to do what Geiger did and get in there and paint my creatures and airbrush them and make them and
get to be in there doing it. Yeah. Well, great. We'll do that on one of our first films. I'll just have you over. You're working on it.
That's it. Perfect.
I'd be like, I would design it like we'll talk later. I have something. We'll see. I don't want to I don't want to mention to you until if funding then. But it's a great idea. I think it could be great to do some initial concepts and see what your thoughts would be. But yes, all right. Well, thank you.
Okay. Cheers. All right. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Cheers,
all right. Thanks. This has been another episode of Entertainment Dudes. I'm Cam Cornelius, the voiceover dude.
I'm Jason Crossman, director. And if you guys have if you're listening to this and you have any questions, things you want to know from what you see or anything else you're interested in hearing from our guests, let us know. Reach out. Where's the best place to reach out to us?
Or if you want to be a guest.
Yes, if you want to be a guest.
Contact us.
I make crackers. I'd like to be a guest. Hey.
info@entertainmentdudes.com.
Yeah, I think we've got some really exciting shows coming up. I think we're going to spend some time looking at Hudson Spider Lights and going out to the place to talk to them. Hopefully, we're getting over to Sim Creative. They're ones who designed the creatures for Stranger Things. We got some voiceover agents, voiceover talent. And so I think there's a lot of exciting.
It's gonna be fun.
Yes, a lot of exciting new interviews, and
we might even make full-size vases rather than
for
the
your head.
Vases.
Yes. For your head.
Wait, it's almost like a cut-off unicorn horn.
Yes, a stunted unicorn would be like if
you
ran into a wall. If he ran into a concrete wall instead.
You know what's cool about this though?
What's this?
Watch this.
It's a
heart.
It's just, this is brilliant. Touched.
All right, enough of that.
Yeah, enough of that. We'll see you later.
Thanks for joining us. We'll be back with another episode. Boy, that was high, wasn't it? We'll be back.
It was too high.
With another episode of Voiceover Dudes.
Oh boy.
What? With another episode of Entertainment Dudes.
Yeah, we're really excited. Thank you for being on the show.
We'll see you later.
Goodbye.
Bye.